if you can go back and talk to that 9-year-old that is just now starting organized basketball, what
Okay.
would you say to her? And the second one is, what would you go back to say to that young lady who tore her ACL and is struggling, that almost gave up? What would you go back and say to them?
To my 9-year-old self, I would say you have the opportunity to be great. And, greatness is not easily achieved. And if you just put your head down and you work and trust the right people, that you have a chance to be on a pretty big stage with pretty bright lights. And then to the freshman that got injured, I would tell her that you are able to achieve anything that you put your mind to, and that you're strong enough to overcome any setback or obstacle that you come into contact with.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and when you take a pic, I like the way you pose a special way. Can deal with petty shit, I never let drama get in the way. And you can deal with none of your problems, cause you rather run away. It hurts the most when your family tend to be your biggest pain. Everybody getting older, but nobody seems to change. And when you really love somebody, certain things you just don't.
Welcome back to another edition of Fast Break Focus. We're here with somebody who, and I mean this respectfully because I understand everybody's job is important. Everybody's, especially in this space of women's basketball. She's the first coach to ever say, "Hey, I'm gonna get with you later," and actually said, "Hey, I'm ready for whenever you are." She is the first person to ever do it, so I absolutely had to jump on and make time and do my research and everything because I found this amazing story when I first reached out, and I remember the stories, and I was like, okay, it's definitely somebody I want to interview. She is a four year letter woman at the University of LSU. The Tigers go Tigers, even though I'm a Texas fan,
That's
but she's somebody who I actually wanted to talk to because I found out she's a doctor. But
Mhm.
without further ado, Coach Ashley Johnson, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing very well. So first thing I'd like to get into is what is your journey into girls basketball? When did your journey start?
As far as like a player or
Yes, as a player.
coaching? Yeah, so I started playing organized basketball when I was 9 years old, but I always just kind of played outside with my friends. My high school coach was actually my elementary school PE coach, and we reconnected, years down the line, and he had something called after school PE. And so he said, if you come to after school PE, he said, I'll show you how to play basketball. So I'm like, Mommy, the PE coach said, he'll show me how to play basketball if I can go. So it pretty much just started then. And I turned out to be pretty good, so it looked out like it worked out for me. So that's just kind of where my journey started, and then just had the opportunity to get all the way to LSU and have a great, experience while I was there, and now I'm in coaching.
Right. So where for people that don't know, where are you originally from?
I'm from Stone Mountain, Georgia,
Okay,
so
okay.
probably about 30 minutes
Yeah.
outside of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's Stone Mountain, the state park, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know exactly. I went up there. I went up there a bunch of
Yep.
times.
Yep.
And so, what were your early influences into women's basketball?
Um, I didn't have a ton. When I was nobody in my family played basketball. Everybody, you either played an instrument or you sang. And so we all played instruments and things like that. And so I knew of like Tennessee because they in the 90s, for me, they were like that top team. So I had knowledge of them, but I had a couple of my friends, they were Duke men's basketball fans. And
Mm.
so that's who I would watch a lot of. And that was kind of how I really learned the game of basketball. But I was able to go to the Tennessee camp, a couple times. So that was really my main exposure for women's basketball. I didn't know a whole lot. My mom did a ton of research basically to help me be recruited. And she's like, okay, I'm going to pull this top 25 list. We didn't know whether I was that good or not, at the time, but that was all she knew, her way to kind of help me get to where I was. And so that was kind of my early experience with women's basketball.
When did it finally click for you that, I'm actually pretty good at basketball?
I would say I may have been about eighth grade.
Mm.
And, in middle school, most teams have like one, maybe two, if they're lucky, good players. But it was more so the attention I was kind of starting to get from like college coaches. And it's like, oh, I could be recruited. Well, that's pretty cool.
In eighth grade?
Yeah, about eighth, ninth grade. Yeah.
Dang.
It was just one of those. things where my AAU coach, he helped me out a lot, and I didn't play on like any circuit, or anything then. We just, it was local AAU team, and we had quite a few good players, and so people would come watch us. And obviously, the recruiting has changed a little bit, from then. But yes, I would say about then, it was like, oh, maybe I could probably be pretty good at this. So.
Right. So just a little bit about your high school career, a
Mhm.
little bit. Um, Leading up to your championship season, the first championship in school history, what was it
Okay.
like those first 3 years before?
So my freshman year in high school, I was fortunate enough to be on varsity that year, and that was our first year ever playing in the state tournament at all. So it was kind of like, oh, okay, we might be pretty good, and it was cool because quite a few of the girls I probably played either with or against in like recreation basketball. So we knew each other. Everybody, we went to the school that was in our area, so we were friends. So it was cool to be on a good basketball team, like with your friends.
Right.
And so I think we went, I want to say like 16 and 10 for whatever reason. That record sticks out in my mind, like my freshman year in high school. And then so on after that, we got closer and closer. My junior year, we ended up losing in the state championship. And it's like, there's no way I'm leaving, high school basketball without accomplishing this. And so again, it's just, my buddies, we're, rocking out, playing basketball, playing really, really well. And we were able to pull that off my senior year in high school.
So your freshman year, it's the
Mhm.
school's first time ever going to the state tournament. And
Mhm.
then your senior year, you end up winning the first championship in school
Mhm.
history.
Yeah.
What was school like after that? First of all, how was the championship game? What do you remember most about that game?
Actually, it's probably one of the best games I've ever played in my life. And so we ended up playing Collins Hill. And if anybody knows anything about Collins Hill basketball, they know who Maya Moore is. And she was a freshman. And so it was like, okay, she has 3 more years after this to win, three state championships. I was like, but we got to get this one right now. And so it was just one of those. We didn't lack any confidence whatsoever because we knew that since the year before when we lost in that championship game, there was no being denied. And I can just remember, I can see like our football team was really supportive. The boys basketball team, you could just see all the students there. And so that was really cool because I think it was called Gwinnett Arena at the time. But
Mhm.
that's where it was played. And it was just like, oh man, we're playing in front of all these people. And that was really, really cool. So that's what I remember most, just seeing all of the faces like in the crowd. And I can remember running like up to my mom and dad, right after we won. And it's just like we really did it. And so hugged my coach really, really tight. Because like I said, I've known him since I was probably 8 years old. And
Mhm.
so to do that with him is really cool.
So what was school like afterwards? I know it was live.
It was cool. Like, one of the things of being able to talk on like the morning announcements and you're on the radio show and you have all of those things that happen for you. And everybody, you wear your state championship t-shirt and we got our medals and they have a pep rally to celebrate that. So everybody was really excited for us. And then by then I was already going to LSU. So it was cool. It's like, oh man, you won a state championship and now you're about to go to this big school and get to play. And so it was definitely a cool experience. And it's crazy that I guess to think about it because I hadn't, I guess, thought about it in a long time outside of maybe the last year. Last year, I think I rewatched the state championship game and it was like,
Mm,
oh, I was pretty decent,
right.
so it was kind of cool. Yeah.
Right. So, before we move off of the high school, how good was Maya Moore? Because you said she was a freshman, and we need to
Oh
get
no,
this one now because she's here.
yep, exactly that. I mean, because we played for before she went to, I want to say Georgia Metros, I think we all played for the same organization. I can remember when they moved, like to Georgia, and it's like, oh, this, young kid, she's really, really good. So I had watched her, all throughout that time, and it's like she's about to take over Georgia high school girls basketball. And I'm like, I need to get mine in before she does that. But
Right.
she's just the greatness that we've always witnessed, even, as a freshman in high school.
Right. So, just now moving on to college a little bit, just your recruiting process. Like we said, it's different back then. What was
Mhm.
it like? Why LSU? And
Mhm.
the three-part question: what is the school or two schools that almost had you?
Ooh, okay. So what was it like? and I was probably, I laugh now, I was probably the worst recruit ever because I didn't want to talk on the phone to anybody. I was just, it was like, Mom, can you answer and tell them, like, yeah, sure, I'll come visit, that type of thing. Because I'm not the most talkative person. And it was kind of like, well, what am I going to talk to these grown people about? I didn't understand because I didn't have anybody in my family that had gone through like the recruiting process. But just to be sought after, just from some of like the great coaches and to have like letters written to you, you receive all this mail. It was like, oh man, this is like a cool experience. And to be able to go to, I'm a huge college football fan, to be able to go to the football games and visit the campuses and those types of things, that was really cool for me. So I can remember I had some high school teammates that had been recruited some before, but I was the first one that had, a lot of the power, conference schools. And so my high school coach, he would come, how they used to do home visits. So
Mhm.
he would come when everybody came for the home visits and they would come visit school. And it was a really cool time. Definitely a cool time.
So
Mhm.
what about LSU? Because I saw a clip of you talking. You said it felt like family, it felt like home. You have family that was in Baton Rouge at the time. So what was it truly about LSU? I know everybody, that's the cliche answer. Everybody says
Oh,
it feels like family.
so my mom and dad are both from Mobile, Alabama. So it's probably about 2.5, 3 hours from Baton Rouge. And
Hmm.
so all of my family, or majority of my family, lives there too. And so it would, in my mind, it would be cool for like my grandma and my granddaddy to be able to come and watch me play basketball in college and have, all my family. I knew my mom and dad, they'd run up and down the road if they had to. And then all of the other SEC schools, they were closer to home. LSU probably at that time was the furthest away from Stone Mountain. And so it was just one of those things where I really wanted my family to be able to come and watch me play. And then also, maybe a couple years before, they had just gotten Simone Augustus. So it's like, okay, they're gonna be pretty good, here
Right.
soon, and wanted to win. Like I didn't want to go and lose for 4 years, and so why not go and have the chance to play with some of the top players in the country, at that time, and then just having really good relationship with the coaches. Coach Gunter was we were the last class that she actually recruited before she passed away,
Hmm.
and I can remember on my home visit when they came to Georgia. Both she and Coach Carla Berry, they came, and those were the only coaches that my grandma cooked dinner for, and so it was like a really big deal, to have them come. And I can just remember she just made herself right at home all the way in Georgia. So Coach Gunner, it was like she had known my grandma forever. It was like she had known us forever, and so I was pretty, sold, at that point. And I was like, well,
Right.
then it was just a matter of actually going and visiting the school and just Louisiana, the culture is so different than what I was used to. And so that was also intriguing to me. And the food was good too. So that also, yeah,
I know
yeah.
that's right. So what was the school that almost had you? Or was it LSU all the way?
Um, th- my mom, she thought I was going to go to Virginia Tech. So me and one of my friends that actually she ended up going to UConn. We took our Virginia Tech visit together and we had a really, really great time. And so when it really came down to it, I'm not really a cold weather fan. And I was like, I don't know if I can do the snow. Uh, yeah, so the Virginia Tech, it came down. It was between them and LSU for me.
Yeah, Virginia Tech cold. They got a little bit of mountains over there. Yeah, yeah, we cold over there. So,
Mhm.
you come in with a loaded class, man.
Yeah.
You had Sylvia Fowles with your recruiting class, man. You had some real talent with your team. What was that? What do you most remember about that freshman year and getting fighting for that playing time?
So it was five of us that came in, and three of us, Sylvia, Erica White, and Kiana
Hmm.
Chaney, they were all McDonald's All-Americans. So it's like, okay, they're pretty good. I think I'm pretty good. Wasn't really sure. I'm this skinny kid, just trying to figure out how I'm gonna play SEC women's basketball. But it was one of those in the summertime. Then the coaches they couldn't do the workouts and stuff that we can do now. We just played
Hmm.
pickup, and you shot on your own. And Coach Starkey would sometimes do our teams. He would, these people are on this team, these people, and then whenever we switch, he would do the teams all the time. And at one point, I think I want to say we had five seniors too. It was them, and he had the five freshmen. And it was like, okay, we might have a chance to be pretty good, throughout our career here. And
Hmm.
so it was really cool just to play with like great players like that. And they all work ethic was just through the roof for everyone. So it made you want to be better. Like there was no way you could show up and slack at any moment in time because everybody was working, for those opportunities. And um, fortunately for me, I was able to pick up on a lot of things that we were doing pretty quickly because we ran motion
Hmm.
offense. And so I was able to pick that up and I got a little bit of playing time, as a freshman. So it's pretty good.
I know that's right. You guys were what? If I'm reading this right, y'all were 33-3 that year.
Yeah, yeah, we were pretty good. I think that year we were actually a number one seed as well. So that, to
Hmm.
have the selection show and see that was cool. That was good
Yeah. So,
stuff.
so you have a little bit of success your freshman year. You get on the court a little bit as your
Mhm,
playing time starts to grow, and people like Simone Augusta, she's moving on now after your sophomore season. You then
mhm,
get named as a captain your junior
mhm,
year. What
mhm.
was that moment like? Do you remember like the emotion of now I'm a captain?
I don't know if I ever really thought of it that way. In anything that I do, I usually end up in leadership positions more so from a lead by example standpoint. So I don't think anything really changed. I know the year before, we had an award, it was called the Sue Gunner like Courage Award or something like that. And they were talking about, this person is going to be a great leader for us one day and we're going to help her through that. And I ended up winning an award. I had no idea they were talking about me, before. So it was, to my surprise. But our coaches, they always did a good job of kind of helping to hone those leadership skills for us too, whether it became being more vocal or just kind of helping us know what to say and when. And so I already had, I guess, a little bit of the background, but just to know that they had that faith in me and then I had the respect of my teammates, it made it a lot easier to be able to help to lead that group.
So you also see SEC something every year.
Hmm.
All academic your freshman year. And you get
Hmm.
on the court, it's 3 straight years of all SEC.
Hmm.
That's high level basketball for people that don't know. Like, can you just speak to just like what do you remember about just the game and stuff like that in your senior year overall?
Yeah. So all the years I was on the academic teams throughout the SEC honor roll. I didn't get any of the conference award honors. I was good, but I don't know if I was quite that good. But just to be able to be recognized for anything in the SEC is a big deal, and I always took the classroom very seriously. That
Hmm.
was because you go to school to get your degree, first and foremost. So that was something that I took a lot of pride in to be able to continue, to make that honor roll every year for me for sure.
Right. And if I'm reading this right, it was the 2008, 2009 Ethnic Minority and Women Enhancements Postgraduate Scholarships for
Hmm.
Career and Athletics given annually by the NCAA.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, you was just talking about degree is most important.
Yes.
Where did that come from? What did the degree? Got to get the degree.
Just my dad was an educator for 30 plus years. And so school in our house was always, extremely important. Like my granddaddy would say, you got to get your lesson. That's what he would, say to me all the time. So it was just one of those things. I pick up on stuff pretty quickly. And so I've always just had the ability to learn, things fast. And so I was able to be successful in school as well. But I also just love learning. And so that's how I get my bachelor's degree and it's like, oh, I think I'll go back to school and, get a master's. And I was able to stay at LSU and get my MBA. So it was just grateful for them to allow me that opportunity to be able to further, my education because they could have easily said no. I'd already played my 4 years, and they didn't have use for me, right? But they knew how important school was for me, and so my mom and dad, they just always between me and my sister, we just always knew school came first.
Right. And then so you stayed on 2 years after as a graduate assistant just to get them degrees, right?
Hmm. Mhm.
And so what was the difference now that I'm no longer playing? Now I'm a graduate assistant. What was the difference there?
The main difference, and it was kind of crazy because my senior class, it ended up being nine of us that graduated. So there were only three of my teammates left when I was a GA. So it was a whole brand new group of players that came
Hmm.
in through those 2 years. So I didn't really feel, I guess, that tug of, well, those are my teammates. How do I separate kind of GA from player? So fortunately, I didn't have to struggle with that too much, but it was just nice to be there and just kind of help them along. Like a lot of those players, they're still some of my good friends, to this day. Just having that opportunity to mentor them and kind of be big sister, and the things you can't always, ask coaches, you can, okay, well, let me just go over here and ask Ashley. She can kind of give me more from a player standpoint, what would be best. And so it was enjoyable. It was definitely enjoyable to still just be able to be around basketball, and help a new group of Lady Tigers come through and help in their success.
Why didn't you go overseas?
I really didn't want to play basketball anymore. Once
Gotcha,
I
gotcha.
had I tore my ACL and meniscus my freshman year, and then my junior year I tore my meniscus. So I had two knee surgeries, and at that time I was like, "Oh, I'm front office. That's what I'm going to do when I graduate. I can still be in sports, and I just want to be on the business side of things." And so I was pretty, laser focused on doing it that way. So I didn't have desire to really play basketball anymore.
Right. So after your 2 years of a graduate assistant, just tell people what comes next for you. Because I'm not thinking you took a break from basketball, didn't you?
I did. I did. I worked in corporate America. So the first 3 years after grad school, I worked at a company called Northrop Grumman. I was in like the DC area, then I moved back to Atlanta. So they're a defense contractor. And then I worked a little bit in nonprofit as well. But while I was in the DC area, I was like, I think I might miss basketball just a little bit. And so I was able to volunteer and coach with Fairfax Stars while I was there. And I was like, okay, I might be a little good at this. It kind of, I guess, cured that itch of being like on a team, and just being able to be competitive. And when I moved back home to Georgia, I went back to my high school and I was able to coach, the high school girls there along with my high school coach, because he's still there, all these years later. And so it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, I think I might want to do this permanently. And it's funny because my mom, she told me she was like, you should have been a coach all this time. And I was like, no, mommy, coaches, they have to move around too much. And, all of that. I was like, there's no way I can do that. And here I am, 13 years later where I'm still doing the same thing. So it looks like it worked out for me. It definitely
Right,
worked out.
right. So just before we move on, because I now live in Virginia,
Okay.
Fairfax.
Hmm.
That's an elite program right there.
Yeah.
Who were some of the players that you coached back then?
I want to say Brianna Jones was on that team. She's in WNBA now. A kid
Hmm.
named Brianna Mason. She actually went to Virginia. Um, I'm drawing a blank on names at this point. Kid, her name was Logan. I want to say she went to Georgetown. So it was a pretty good team.
Yeah.
And it's funny, one of the players, her name was Danielle. She was actually coaching at a school that we scrimmaged against while I've been here at Furman. And she was like, "Coach, you remember me?" And I'm like, "I sure do." To be able to run into former players, that was a pretty cool thing too. But yeah, they're pretty good players, pretty good
Yeah.
players.
So, you end up coaching at Stevenson High School, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
What was it about that let me jump into the high school before I try to jump college? Or was it, what, this is the first opportunity that came?
Hmm. It was more so I didn't know if I wanted to do it fully as a career just yet. I knew I wanted to coach, but again, like I said, because I've moved, let me see, UCF, Winthrop, I've moved about 3 or 4 times since then, and that was the part of it that I was nervous about. But it turned out to be okay. Now that I know that now, right? But at that moment in time, I knew I just still wanted to be around the game, but I thought I wanted to live in Atlanta forever. But so it was a way for me to be able to get both out of it, to be able to coach and then be at home with my family and friends. And so high school, that was kind of the route for me at that moment in time. And then after that year was over, I was like, man, I think I might be pretty good at this, and I'm just gonna, jump off the deep end and give it a shot. And so that was
Right.
when I got to college athletics.
So you end up going to UCF first. What was that experience like, and what made that jump happen?
So Joy Williams was the head coach at that time, and she actually recruited me when I was in high school. So
Hmm.
that was the connection there. And Coach Bob Starkey, who's at LSU now, he worked for Coach Joy at UCF as well. And so that I just made that reconnection again. And she had a support staff position open, and it just helped me get my foot in the door. And she said, I didn't really know if I wanted to hire you because you already told me no once, but she gave me the opportunity to be able to just get my foot in the door and be able to learn how college coaching really works. And so it was, a good thing, to live in Orlando and be able to learn the college game without the pressure of necessarily being the coach and being responsible for a lot. I was just able to just watch and sit back and just learn. And so, and that helped get me started into where I am now.
Right. And so after that, you end up going to, I think, Northrop. Right.
Winthrop, I was at Winthrop.
Winthrop right after that. Um,
Mhm.
what was the decision to switch? Because like you said, you hate moving. So you
Well, we were actually let go, so that I
okay.
didn't really have a
Gotcha.
choice.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
most of my moves have been we've either been let go or the coach, made a decision to pivot, out of college athletics, and so that was how I ended up there. And the coach that I worked for there, he was the assistant coach with the Houston Comets with my one of my college coaches, Van Chancellor. So that was how that connection was made. So you know how they always say it's all about, who you know and who knows you. And so they were able to help me get both of those, roles. It was people that I had crossed paths with before, and they were able to help me in college athletics.
Right. Hold on. How long was you at UCF? Let me back up a second. How long was
I
you at
was only
UCF?
there for 2 years. I was there
So
for
so
two
you
years.
know excuse what's her name? Tulu Omokore.
Yes, I know
And
Tolu.
she is
That's
a
it.
friend to the
Yeah,
podcast. Speak to her for
yeah.
just 1 second. What do you remember most
Yes,
about
I
her?
love Tolu. Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. So I want to say I was there her freshman year. I want to
Hmm.
say. I think it was just her freshman season that I
Yeah.
was there.
What do you
Mhm.
remember most about her?
I love Tolu's personality. Like when Tolu walks in the room, everybody knows that she is here. And she's just always just so gracious, so helpful.
Right.
And she just brightens every room. And that's what I remember most. I actually still talk to her quite a bit now, every now and then. She's working on her doctorate, and I just finished mine a couple of years ago. And so we talk from time to time, what do
Hmm.
you think about this? How can you help me with that? And so definitely maintain that relationship. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So I just had to speak on that because she's a friend of the pod, and it just kind of clicked for me. Wait a minute, she
Yeah.
was there at UCF at the same time. So yeah, just had to ask about that.
She sure was. Hmm.
Right. So after Winthrop, you end up, if I'm not mistaken, you end up back at LSU.
Hmm. Hmm.
What was it? Was that call like, man? I'm back at the crib, basically. Where
It was it was kind of a surreal moment for me. Nikki Vargas gave me the opportunity to be able to come back home, and I'm always grateful for that. And it was in a support staff role there as well, but it didn't matter, for me. I was back at it was my school, right? That I had put a lot of time and energy into helping to build a successful program, and so one of the things that we always talk about as Lady Tigers is we talk about legacy and what type of legacy you want to leave, and to be able to go back and kind of impart that same wisdom onto the current players that were there. That was a great opportunity for me. I was overjoyed to be able to move back to Baton Rouge. I mean, I had built a good village there. My athletic trainer, she was still the athletic trainer there, and
hmm
my godparents, they lived there at the time, and it was a familiar place. And so even though I was moving somewhere, it felt like I was moving home. So it wasn't I didn't feel like a fish out of water in a brand new place. So that was it was a an awesome opportunity that I was afforded to be able to be
Right.
back at.
And so after 3 years you were there, you end up now where you are now at Furman.
Hmm.
What
Yeah.
was the decision to go ahead and leave LSU, a place I'm familiar with, and now go to this new place called Furman? Did you even
So
know where that was before?
I did because
Okay.
Furman recruited me in high school, so I knew
Okay.
of Furman, and so or you know had some awareness of the school. But Nikki, she took the job as the president of the Las Vegas Aces. So, like I said, we either got let go or she pivoted out of college athletics. So I kind of didn't have a choice to leave LSU, but she was good. She was connected with Jackie Carson, who I ended up working for here. And funny enough, during COVID, there was an organization that a lot of the college coaches were starting, and I was able to help Jackie with a lot of things in that organization. So I was able to get familiar with her there, and she ended up having a job opening. And so that connection was made, long before I even got a chance to come and work for her here. But Nikki was a great advocate for me to be able to get the coaching position here. And so just those connections, they've worked out for me so far. And so it's just being able to have those relationships has definitely been beneficial.
If I'm not mistaken, this is your longest tenure that you've been at a school.
Yes, it is. And
Eh,
it's almost, I don't think I've lived anywhere for 5 years in a long time outside of,
Right.
childhood and
Right.
college. And so it's been a good experience to be able to be here. I'm close to home. It's probably 2 hours and 15 minutes from my door to my mom's, front door. And so her and my dad are able to come to all the home games if they choose. And then when I travel for away games, they watch my daughter for me. And so it's been nice to be back, close to home and have that support too. So,
Right. What about the atmosphere of Furman for you? Because like you said, this has been home for 5 years now.
mhm.
And so what about this atmosphere that you love about Furman?
I really like the city of Greenville too. So that kind of plays hand in hand with the university. Being at a high academic school, like I said, I'm really, really love to learn, and academics has always been extremely important for me. So to be able to coach players they have that same goal, it helps you to relate, a little bit better, and you understand what it is that they're going through, trying to be great academic students along with being great basketball players. And so just the support that we receive. We just got a brand new, facility. And so they're
Hmm.
pouring into all of the athletic programs here on campus. And so you know that they want to see it grow and continue to thrive. And hopefully, here soon we can get over that hump and win another SoCon championship. And so they're really pouring into all of those athletic programs. So that support is always great. But in Greenville, there's just always something to do. I mean, whether you're a foodie, whether you like festivals, whether just like to be outdoors,
Yeah.
I enjoy that as well.
So, like you said, you want to get back to that top of the mountain, put Furman back there. This year, you fell short of that. What are some things that you're looking forward to for next year?
We had a really young group this year, and so we were able to probably achieve more than a lot of people thought we would. We had, I want to say, 11 freshmen and sophomores, and so you can imagine like what that's like as a coach to try to help, those young players along. But they play so hard, and they want to win and they want to get better. And so going into now where they'll be sophomores and juniors, they've had a lot of game experience. And
Hmm.
so that's usually sometimes the biggest gap for people making, that jump. And so now that they've had the chance, they've experienced it, they know what it feels like to lose, and you don't want that feeling again. I think it will really just drive everybody this off season to get back to where we were and then exceed that.
Right. So the season's now over for you guys, unfortunately, of course.
Mhm.
What are some things that you're now looking forward to when it comes to the recruiting side and all that stuff?
Mhm. We do a really good job of just building those relationships, and so just to be able to go and you get paid to go sit in a gym and watch basketball. I mean, I can't beat that, right? As a career path. So I truly enjoy watching the game of basketball. So it makes it easy. It's not a daunting task to go and recruit. Sometimes it's like, oh, we've been in the gym all day. Yes, you could also be at a desk all day,
Right.
so it's like, what's the trade-off? And because I've done the other, I'm always, really, really excited to be able to get out and just watch the new up and coming talent. And so we've probably last year went in the transfer portal a little more than we had to before, because we
Mhm.
had quite a few to graduate. But when that opens up, we'll kind of dive head first into that too. But we really like recruiting the high school players, and so it's more of that focus for us, just continuing to maintain those relationships and get somebody to say yes, soon. So just have that to really look forward to.
Right. And so I always have fun going through the timeline and stuff like that of people and stuff. And so that's usually part one of my interviews. I usually do three parts.
Okay,
The second part is something that things that I found interesting on the internet slash
okay,
during the interview that I put in the back of my mind for later.
okay.
So the first thing, can you still give your players buckets?
So I don't play anymore. I think I can in my mind, but my knees remind me every day that I am 39 years old. So it's funny because that was one of the questions that, when they do all of the media day stuff, and they're like, oh, who can you beat one on one? And one of our players said me, I said, you've lost your mind. I said, I don't know, like what you would think. But no, I can definitely, if I have to, I'm very, very competitive. So,
Right.
I'm not going down without a fight for sure.
Right. So you have a daughter.
Mhm.
What has the experience been like for her, being able for her to see successful women in this basketball space? And does she like basketball?
She does. She plays now. So we've only done YMCA basketball right now. I'm
Hmm.
not going to dive, head first into all the AAU and all that kind of stuff. I want her to actually really, love the game.
Hmm.
And I don't want her to feel like she has to do it because mommy played. But I think she really, really enjoys being a coach's kid.
Right.
And so sometimes when I'm watching film, I'll rewind it back and I see her and she's got three fingers up, and she's cheering, doing the same thing that our kids are doing on the bench. So it's cool to watch her be excited about it. And we went to the SEC tournament. We went to watch LSU play, and she's asking questions, like about the game. And I'm like, okay, she's pretty interested.
Yeah.
That's always a joy to be able to just share that part of it with her. We were watching some games yesterday, and so in her mind, she's not going to lack any confidence whatsoever. So sometimes I have to remind her, I'm like, you still have to work. We still have to get better. We got a long way to go. But she's always, can we go to the gym? Mommy, you said we were going to do, the workouts. And so I don't coach her myself. I'll get a trainer or let anybody else because I just want to be able to enjoy that process as mom with her as opposed to coach. And so she really likes the game, and so that's exciting to see for me for sure.
You spoke on something that I think is very important, and it's going to stray away from everything we've been talking about. But you
Okay.
said that you don't want you just want to be mom. You don't want
Hmm.
to be coach mom.
Hmm.
How important is that relationship of just right now, I'm just mom?
I think it is because I think sometimes as coach, you can really, really, be on kids to be great, right? And so I just want to be support as opposed to you got to do this and you got to do, and I think it would be easier or more helpful at home to just be like that support system of, man, I had a tough day. I know I can cry to mom, but I can't complain to coach necessarily, all the time. So, our players, they're able to come and talk with us when they're struggling, but sometimes you don't want to, you want to go to coach. So I want her to always feel like she has this safe place, to land when she comes home, when she's had a tough day, and then to be able to be excited and sharing all the joys that hopefully she'll have the chance to experience. And so I think I'll enjoy it more that way, just to be able to watch as a fan as opposed to trying to critique every little thing that she does.
And I already know you got that. You just got basketball oozing through you. So I already
Yeah.
know sometimes. I know right now it sounds cool, but sometimes it's
Uh-huh.
gonna be that time. It's like, try to do it this way, but we can do it
Right.
this way.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
lived through I lived through people like you because I have a 2.5 year old, and she and everybody would assume that she loves basketball. She wants nothing to
Okay.
do with it.
Okay.
I am a painting nails type of dad. I am a
Yeah.
dress up dad.
Yeah.
Go out, let's go have some fun, dad. I am not
Mhm.
sit in the gym basketball, dad. Unfortunately.
Okay. She might turn at some point. You never
Yeah.
know.
She's more interested in the cheerleaders when we go to watch games.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I already lost that one.
Okay.
So one of the questions before we move on to the next segment is
Mhm.
crawfish boil or Georgia peaches?
Oh, um, I don't like to peel crawfish, but I will eat them. So I would say crawfish boil. Definitely
Gotcha.
crawfish. Hmm.
And last one halfway for this segment. If you could choose one place to live forever, take family out. You can move your family with you. You can
Okay.
only live in Georgia. Now anywhere in Georgia, Atlanta, you can do Stone Mountain, you can do whatever you want in Georgia.
Okay.
Or we can go down to Louisiana, anywhere in Louisiana.
Okay. Hmm. I would probably say Baton Rouge. I would go back there, in a heartbeat. Because like I said, I'm a huge college football fan, and so those LSU football Saturday nights, I don't, nothing tops that
Right.
for me, sure. And so, and then like I said, the food and the culture, those weigh heavy for me as well.
Gotcha. And this last segment I have is I call motivational time. I ask
Okay.
about 5 to 7 motivational questions just to have people thinking and just inspire the next generation.
Okay.
The first one is I want you to fill in the blank.
Okay.
Women's basketball is.
Men's basketball is powerful.
Oh, that's right. Who is somebody who doesn't get enough credit in your story?
Mm, trying to think. Because I think I give my parents quite a bit of credit that doesn't get enough credit. Outside of them, I would probably go back to my high school coach, like the story that I shared early on, because he really helped me get started, and my parents were just able to help me continue on there. But I would say my high school basketball coach.
What's a moment in your journey that you almost gave up?
Probably after my first knee injury, that was really, really hard because I had never been injured before, and I didn't know what it looked like to recover or come out on the other side. And so that was really, really tough for me mentally, just because you spend a lot of alone time because you're in the rehab and everybody else is at practice. So that was probably tough. And so that's how I'm really, really great friends with my athletic trainer from college because she helped me out a ton. She helped me
Mhm.
out a lot. Mhm.
What's a moment that defines your career in general, just just throughout basketball? What's a moment that defines it?
Hmm. That's a really great question. A moment that defines it. Mm, I've never really thought about that. I would probably, if I could lump in all of the Final Fours that I was able to go to, I
Hmm.
think that was kind of the pinnacle for me basketball wise. And to be able to be that type of winner is a pretty big deal. I don't think I realized what we did at that moment in time until like years later when you realize how hard it is to get to that place. And it's like, well, we went 4 times in a row. Like that's
Hmm.
pretty, big stuff. So I would definitely say being able to go to those Final Fours and with the type of players that I did that with, and just to know how their careers progressed, I think that was pretty defining for me.
If you can go back, and I want you to have two conversations, okay?
Okay.
If you can go back and talk to that 9-year old that is just now starting organized basketball, what
Okay.
would you say to her? And the second one is, what would you go back to say to that young lady who tore her ACL and is struggling, that almost gave up? What would you go back and say to them?
To my 9-year-old self, I would say you have the opportunity to be great. And, greatness is not easily achieved. And if you just put your head down and you work and trust the right people, that you have a chance to be on a pretty big stage with pretty bright lights. And then to the freshman that got injured, I would tell her that you are able to achieve anything that you put your mind to, and that you're strong enough to overcome any setback or obstacle that you come into contact with.
That's a good one right there. And my second to last question is, there's a lot of women, young women out there that struggle when the basketball stops bouncing for them.
Mhm. Mhm.
What would you say to those women out there who are struggling with that identity crisis?
I would encourage them to always make sure you know what else it is that you're passionate about and make sure you also hone into that as well, because we do put so much into our identity as basketball players. And it was hard for me to adjust. And I knew I wanted to be in corporate America, but still wasn't the basketball player anymore, and so it was just one of those, okay, well, what else do you like? What else do you love? What are you passionate about? So making sure you always make space for that in this moment in time and not feel like you can only do one thing.
Gotcha. Sounds good. And my final question for everybody is, I need a Coach Ashley's quote.
Ooh, a Coach Ashley quote. Um, I one that my dad always, when I went off to college, he wrote me a list of about like 10 things, about keep God first, all that type of stuff. And the quote that he put on there was walk with kings and queens, but keep the common touch. So you can be here and be as high as you want to be, but don't ever forget where you came from and the people that helped you get there.
That was a fire one. That might be one of the best ones I heard so far. I got to use that one. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie to you.
yeah, yeah.
This has been another fantastic episode of Fast Break Focus. Is there anybody, Coach Ashley, you'd like to shout out before we end?
I want to shout out my daughter Ava. She is my driving force, man. And to see her think that her mommy's job is really, really cool, that lifts me up every day and it helps keep me going. So definitely want to shout out to my baby. She's 10 years old, so we're transitioning into that teen phase, but that's my dog right there, man. Yep.
I know that's right. Shout out to Ava, and thank you, guys. Thank you for so much for jumping on the podcast. This has been another amazing episode, and I will appreciate you so much, and we'll look forward to hearing from you.
No, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you.